बिल्लर भी ऐसे से तो माल उड़े थे टाटा के माल उड़े नहीं
Success is not doing one thing 1,000 times, it's doing 1,000 small things one time each every single day. That's the formula. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one often comes down to a small daily decision. The decision to improve yourself by just 1% every single day. Most people think change has to be massive, some grand reinvention, some life-altering moment. But real transformation doesn't work that way. It begins quietly, in the moments you choose to do a little more, stay a little longer, think a little deeper, or act a little better than you did yesterday. You see, you don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to be willing to get a little better today. That's all. Because over time, those small improvements don't just add up, they multiply. One better decision today, another one tomorrow, and before long, you're living in a completely different reality. Today, I'm going to show you how this 1% mindset works, not just as a theory, but as a lifestyle. You're going to learn how small improvements lead to big change, how to build lasting habits, and how to stay consistent even when progress feels slow. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I walk you through the power of improving yourself 1% every day. Let's dive in. Number 1, focus on the small step today if you really want to change your life. Stop trying to change it all at once. That's where most people make the mistake. They see the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And instead of focusing on one step, they freeze. They get overwhelmed. But let me tell you, it's not the mountain that gets you, it's the pebble in your shoe. And the best way to handle the mountain is to focus on the next small, sure step right in front of you. You don't need to leap to the top. You just need to take one solid step today. That's how progress works. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing something. And when you do it today, not tomorrow, not next week, you give yourself a win. That win builds confidence. And confidence, my friend, is fuel for momentum. Let me give you a real example. There was a young man who didn't start off on stages or writing bestsellers. No, he started in a small seminar room, speaking to just a few people. But he treated that tiny room like it was a stadium. He didn't wait for the big opportunity. He mastered the one in front of him. And each day, each talk, each step, he got a little better. Just 1% better. Now you see his name everywhere, but it all began with that one small commitment. I'm going to get better today. And that's what you need. A decision that says, today, I'm going to take the stairs instead of the elevator. Today, I'll make one important phone call. Today, I'll save just $1. It might seem like it's not enough, but it is. Because when you do that one small thing, you prove something powerful to yourself, that you're serious, that you're showing up, and that you're moving forward. Small steps, taken consistently, lead to big results. The world belongs to those who act, not those who wait for the perfect plan. You can't control everything, but you can control what you do today. So ask yourself, what small step can I take right now that will bring me closer to the person I want to become? Don't underestimate the power of a focused day. Stack enough of them together, and you've got a focused life. It all starts with today. Number 2, build belief with every action. Belief is not something you stumble upon. It's not something handed to you. It's built brick by brick, action by action, step by step. And if you're waiting to feel confident before you begin, you'll be waiting a very long time. You don't act because you believe. You believe because you act. That's how it works. You see, most people are caught in a loop. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. But feeling ready never comes. You don't wait for belief to show up. You build it. You shape it. Every small effort, every disciplined choice, every time you show up when it would have been easier not to. That's how belief grows. There's a young woman I met years ago, Amanda. Now, Amanda wasn't anyone famous. She wasn't born into wealth or privilege. She was a part-time waitress, barely making ends meet, living in a small apartment with more bills than savings. But she had a dream to one day run her own online business. Not a wild ambition, just a simple, honest dream. And do you know how she started? Not with a website, not with a loan, not with followers or investors. She started by doing 10 minutes of focused writing each night after her shift. 10 minutes, no excuses. That was her 1%. That was her start. At first, she wasn't confident. At first, she didn't even believe she could really pull it off. But something interesting happened. After a week of writing, she started to feel better. After 2 weeks, she began to enjoy it. After a month, she had created her first small guide. Then she learned how to sell it. Then she built her first product. And step by step, she went from barely surviving to running her own business from home. She didn't wait to believe. She built belief with every disciplined action she took. Now don't miss this. The reason that approach works is because belief is reinforced by results, and results come from action. When you do something hard and get it done, you send a powerful message to your brain. I can do this, and the more times you say it through action, the more it sticks. It becomes part of who you are. But there's another side to this too. When you don't act, when you delay, when you constantly hesitate, you send the opposite message, I'm not ready, I can't do this. And over time, that becomes your identity. You start to believe that your limitations are fixed, that your doubts are the truth, and that's a dangerous place to live. You want belief? Start showing up. Start doing something small that aligns with the person you want to become. You don't have to write a book, write a paragraph. You don't have to run 5 miles, walk around the block. You don't have to revolutionize your business, make one important call. And when you do that, when you follow through, you earn your own respect. That's where belief comes from. Not from outside approval, but from inner proof. And let me tell you something else. Belief built through action is unshakable. Why? Because you earned it. It's not theory, it's not wishful thinking. It's based on your track record. Every time you did what you said you would. Every time you kept going when it was easier to stop. Every time you gave just a little more than yesterday. That's what builds belief that no criticism can tear down. I'll give you a little challenge. Take a look at your life right now. Pick one area where you've been hesitating. One thing you've wanted to do but haven't started. Now forget the big picture for a moment. Ask yourself this. What's one small action I can take today to build belief in this area? Just one. That's it. Remember, you're not trying to win the game in one play. You're just trying to move the ball forward, inch by inch. You do that long enough, and not only do you build belief, you build character, discipline, confidence, and momentum. And once momentum kicks in, it gets easier. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Belief is not magic. It's not reserved for the chosen few. It's available to anyone willing to take consistent action in the face of doubt. You want to believe in yourself? Then go out today and prove to yourself that you're worth believing in. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. Cast your vote today. Number 3. Discipline is your daily advantage. Discipline, it's not a word most people get excited about. It sounds like hard work, doesn't it? It sounds like restriction, like sacrifice, like waking up early when you don't want to, or saying no to things that look fun in the moment. But let me tell you something. Discipline is not the enemy. It's the secret advantage. It's the quiet force that gives you the edge every single day. You see, motivation is great, but it's unreliable. Some mornings you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you don't even want to get out of bed. That's life. That's being human. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline says, I'll do it anyway. Discipline shows up when your feelings don't. And over time, it becomes your greatest strength. Let me give you a real story. Denzel Washington. Now there's a man you recognize. But what many people don't know is how he built himself before the spotlight ever found him. Long before the awards, the standing ovations, or the iconic speeches, Denzel was grinding in small theater rooms. He wasn't chasing fame, he was showing up, day after day, rehearsing his craft when nobody was watching. And that consistency, that self-discipline, created the actor we all respect today. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Everyone has a dream, but few have the discipline to show up when it's boring, to stay focused when it's hard, and to keep pushing when results are nowhere in sight. That's the difference. And here's the part most people miss. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you train, like a muscle. It grows with use. Start with small disciplines. Wake up when you said you would. Stick to that workout you planned, even if it's only 15 minutes. Follow through on a promise you made to yourself. These may seem like little things, but they're not. They're bricks. And each brick you lay forms the foundation of a disciplined life. Over time, that foundation becomes strong enough to carry dreams far bigger than you could ever imagine. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't have to do it all, and you don't have to do it flawlessly. You just have to do it regularly. Miss a day? Fine. But don't miss two. Break the streak? Start again. Discipline isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. That mindset changes everything. And there's a beautiful irony here. Most people think discipline is a prison. They think it locks you in, steals your freedom. But the truth is, discipline creates freedom. When you master discipline, you gain control over your time, your choices, your future. You're no longer tossed around by feelings or distractions. You're no longer a slave to laziness or doubt. You become the architect of your life. Think about the areas in your life that feel out of control. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your time. What would change if you just added a little more discipline? What if you showed up even when you didn't feel like it? What if you followed through, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary? The discipline to say no to something small today so you can say yes to something great tomorrow. That's the real game. That's the mindset that turns goals into realities. And it doesn't require talent. It doesn't require perfect timing. It just requires a decision. A daily decision to show up, to follow through, to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. So let me ask you, what area of your life could use a little more discipline right now? Not perfection, just a little more consistency, a little more intention, a little more follow through. That's where your next breakthrough is hiding. Don't wait for motivation to show up. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. Build your discipline like a daily habit. Start small, keep going, and watch what happens when you begin to live by your decisions, not your moods. Discipline is not a burden, it's your greatest daily advantage. Use it, train it, lean on it. Because when the emotions fade and the hype disappears, it's discipline that will carry you to the finish line. Number 4, create habits that carry you. One of the most powerful things you can do for your future is build habits that work even when you don't feel like working. Habits are like silent partners in your journey. They do the heavy lifting when your motivation runs low, when you're tired, when life gets noisy. A good habit doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It just does the job. And that's the kind of support most people need, but never build. You see, success isn't the result of one big decision. It's the result of thousands of small ones, repeated daily until they become automatic. That's what a habit is. A repeated decision that eventually becomes who you are. It becomes part of your identity. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just live it. Let me tell you about Marcus. Now, Marcus worked an ordinary job. Cubicle, emails, clock in, clock out. He wasn't doing what he loved. He felt stuck. He wanted to grow, to do something meaningful, but he didn't know how to begin. Time was tight. His energy was drained by the end of each workday. So instead of overhauling everything, he started with one habit: getting up just 30 minutes earlier each day to read, study, and take notes. That's it. Not hours of training, not a radical transformation. Just 30 quiet minutes of growth, while the rest of the world was still asleep. And he stuck with it. Day after day, week after week. Slowly, things began to change. He got sharper. He started asking better questions at work. He picked up new skills. After a few months, he was leading projects instead of just finishing them. Eventually, Marcus landed a new role, one that was more aligned with his passion, one that gave him room to grow. And it all started with that simple habit. That's the power of routines. They move you forward quietly. They don't need applause. They just need consistency. You don't need 100 habits, just a few good ones that support the kind of life you want to live. Because when your habits are right, your results take care of themselves. Here's the trick. Don't aim to build habits that rely on willpower. Willpower runs out. Discipline is stronger. But even that gets tired. You want habits that are easy to maintain. Habits that make success the default. Start small, but start intentionally. Want to get fit? Don't start with a 2-hour workout. Start with a 10-minute walk. Want to write a book? Don't stare at a blank page for an hour. Start with 1 paragraph a day. Make it so easy that you can't talk yourself out of it. Another thing, link your habits to something you already do. That's called habit stacking. If you make coffee every morning, use that time to listen to something that feeds your mind. If you brush your teeth at night, use that moment to jot down 3 things you're grateful for. Attach new habits to existing routines. And you'll be surprised how easily they stick. And don't forget, your environment matters. If your surroundings make bad habits easy and good habits hard, you'll always struggle. Set up your space to support the life you want. Keep the junk food out of sight. Place the book you want to read where you'll see it. If your phone is your biggest distraction, charge it in another room. Make the good choices easier to reach. Let me say this too. Building a habit takes time. Some days you'll feel like you're not making progress. That's normal. Habits don't shout, they whisper. But those whispers shape your life. Don't quit because it feels slow. Everything that lasts grows slowly. Trust the process. And remember, not all habits are created equal. Some give you energy. Some drain it. Some pull you forward. Others hold you back. So take inventory. What habits are helping you? What habits are hurting you? Be honest. Then take one small action to improve. Don't try to fix everything. Just focus on one. Build it. Protect it. Let it carry you. Because here's the truth. When life gets hectic, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. That's why they matter. That's why they're worth the time to build. Habits are the quiet engines that drive your future. Create ones that carry you in the direction you want to go. And when you do, you'll find yourself improving. Even on the days when you didn't try that hard. Because good habits don't ask for perfection. They just keep moving you forward. Step by step, day by day. That's how real change happens. Number 5. Let small wins build your fire. One of the greatest secrets to building lasting confidence is learning to recognize and celebrate your small wins. You see, too many people are waiting for the big moment before they feel good about themselves. They wait for the big paycheck, the big recognition, the big breakthrough. But the truth is, confidence doesn't grow from big moments. It grows from small victories stacked on top of each other, day after day. Now let's set the record straight. A small win isn't just checking something off a to-do list. A small win is anything that moves you closer to the person you want to become. It could be waking up early when you promised yourself you would. It could be resisting that temptation that usually derails your progress. It could be choosing to work when you felt like resting, or speaking up when it would have been easier to stay silent. These might not make headlines, but they are the seeds of long-term transformation. Let me take you back to an example that's been talked about for decades. Thomas Edison. Now here was a man who failed over 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. 1,000. Most people wouldn't last 10. But do you know what he said when people asked him about those failures? He didn't call them failures. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." That's the mindset of someone who celebrates small wins. Each experiment, no matter how minor, was a step forward. Each test, a new lesson. Each setback, a lesson in persistence. That kind of mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's trained, it's nurtured, and you build it by paying attention to the little wins each day. Why do small wins matter so much? Because they create momentum. And momentum is everything. It's easier to keep going once you've already taken the first step. A body in motion stays in motion, but most people don't take the first step. They talk about the 10th. They dream about the finish line, but never get past the start. Small wins solve that. They get you moving. Let's talk about you. What's one area in your life where you're waiting for a big breakthrough? Now ask yourself, what's a small win I can claim today in that area? Maybe it's making a list of people to call. Maybe it's taking a walk around the block. Maybe it's putting $5 into a savings jar. Do something you can win at today. That's the key. Don't wait. Win now. Because here's what happens. One small win gives you a little spark. The next one adds fuel. Before long, you've got a fire burning inside you. A belief that you can keep going, that you're capable, that you're becoming someone stronger than you were yesterday. That fire is what most people are missing. They think they need more motivation. No, they need small wins that build their confidence one layer at a time. And there's something else. Small wins rewire your brain. They train your mind to expect success, to recognize growth, to build identity around progress instead of perfection. When you start to say, I'm the kind of person who follows through, or I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start, that identity creates strength. But it starts with a win, a small one. Let me offer a piece of advice. Don't let comparison steal your wins. Just because your progress doesn't look flashy, doesn't mean it's not valuable. The world may not applaud your 6 a.m. wake-up, your journal entry, or your quiet evening study session. But those are the building blocks of the life you want. Applaud yourself. Recognize the effort. That's how you build self-respect. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but my wins feel too small to matter. That's exactly why they do matter. Because if you can't feel good about the small progress, you won't last long enough to reach the big results. The harvest takes time, but the seeds are planted daily. Plant good ones, water them with consistent effort, and celebrate when they sprout, no matter how tiny that first leaf may be. Here's the truth. You are not going to leap your way to greatness. You're going to step your way there, one focused action at a time. So today, forget the finish line for a moment. Look at your feet. Look at the ground in front of you. What's your next small win? Take it, own it, and then take the next one tomorrow. When you start letting your small wins build your fire, you won't need to wait for a big moment to feel proud. You'll feel proud every step of the way. And that, my friend, is how confidence is built, one win at a time. Number 6, master progress, not perfection. One of the greatest traps you'll ever face on the road to growth is the belief that you have to be perfect. That if it's not flawless, it's not worth it. That if you mess up once, you've failed. That mindset doesn't just slow you down, it stops you cold. Perfectionism is a silent killer of dreams. It whispers in your ear, don't start until everything is ready, or worse, you're not good enough to keep going. But let me offer you something different, something more powerful, more practical, and more rewarding: progress. If you want to change your life, stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. Because progress is honest, it's real, it's measurable, and it keeps you moving forward even on the days when you fall short. Now let me tell you a story. There was a man named David, not someone you'd read about in the papers. No headlines, no stage lights. David worked as a mechanic during the day, but he always dreamed of writing a book. Not for fame, just for the satisfaction of telling his story. But every time he sat down to write, he froze. Why? Because he believed that every sentence had to be perfect. And since perfection is impossible, he wrote nothing. One day, someone challenged him to change his approach. Don't write the perfect book, they said. Just write one imperfect page a day. And he did. At first, those pages were rough, scattered, unsure. But he kept going. Day after day, one page at a time. And do you know what happened? After 6 months, he had a finished manuscript. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And more importantly, it was done. That's the power of choosing progress. One page instead of a perfect chapter. One walk instead of a perfect workout. $1 saved instead of a perfect financial plan. Because progress is doable. And when something is doable, it becomes sustainable. And what's sustainable becomes transformational. Let me share something you've got to remember. Nobody sees the mess behind success. They see the finished product, the polished result. But behind every strong body, every strong business, every strong mind, there's a trail of imperfect efforts, failed attempts, days where nothing worked. But the people who succeed are the ones who kept showing up anyway. Not because they were perfect, because they were consistent. You want to build a life you're proud of? Make peace with imperfection. Get comfortable with doing it messy. Because the person who shows up imperfectly will always outperform the person who waits to be perfect. Action beats hesitation every time. And here's another thing. When you pursue progress, your expectations change. You stop measuring success by how flawless you were and start measuring it by how far you've come. That shift alone can free you. It removes the pressure and adds perspective. It helps you stay motivated because now you're celebrating effort instead of demanding perfection. Think about a staircase. If the goal is the top floor, perfection says you should leap there in one bound. But progress says take one step at a time. Which one do you think wins? Which one do you think builds confidence, strength, and momentum? The person climbing the staircase, not the one staring at it, waiting for a miracle. So here's a practical thought. At the end of each day, ask yourself one question. Did I make progress today? Not was I perfect. Not did I impress anyone. Just did I move forward? That's a question you can say yes to. And the more days you can answer yes, the more you begin to trust yourself. You start to feel different. You start to act different. And little by little, your life begins to change. Let me remind you of something you may have forgotten. You are allowed to grow in public. You are allowed to get it wrong while you're getting it right. You are allowed to be a work in progress. Don't hide behind the fear of not being good enough. Show up, do the work, and let the results follow. So if you've been waiting to get it all together before you start, stop waiting. Start now. Start messy. Start small. But start. If you keep going, you'll improve. If you keep improving, you'll succeed. And when you finally get there, you won't just be proud of what you've achieved. You'll be proud of how you got there. Progress, not perfection. That's the path. That's the mindset. That's how real growth happens. One step forward, day by day, with grace, with grit, and without the need to be flawless. Number 7. Stay in the game longer than most. You know, one of the biggest reasons people don't succeed isn't because they're not talented. It's not because they don't have resources or intelligence or connections. No, most people simply don't stay in the game long enough. They quit too early. They stop just when things are about to get interesting. They bow out before the momentum can do its work. The truth is, anything worthwhile takes time. It takes commitment. It takes staying power. And the ones who make it, who truly change their lives, aren't always the fastest or the flashiest. They're the ones who keep going. They stay when others walk away. They hold the line just a little longer than most. Let me share a story with you about someone who understood this principle better than most. A man named Harlan Sanders. You might not know the name off the top of your head, but you know his face on a bucket of chicken. That's right, Colonel Sanders. Now here's the part most people overlook. He didn't find success in his 20s or 30s. He wasn't a young prodigy. In fact, by the time he was in his 60s, he'd faced more rejection than most people could stomach. He had a chicken recipe and a belief that it was worth sharing. So he packed up, hit the road, and started pitching it to restaurants across the country. Do you know how many times he was told no? Over 1,000. That's not an exaggeration. Over 1,000 rejections. Most folks would have quit after 10, maybe 20. But he kept going. He stayed in the game. And finally someone said yes. That one yes changed everything. Now imagine if he had quit at number 500. We wouldn't even know his name. But because he endured, because he refused to give up, because he kept showing up, his name and brand became a global icon. That's what staying in the game can do. You see, the magic doesn't always happen in the beginning. Sometimes it shows up in the middle, after you've been through the disappointments, the delays, the doubts. Sometimes it comes right after your biggest failure. But if you quit, you never get to find out. So how do you stay in the game when it feels like nothing is working? First, remember your why. Why did you start in the first place? What was the vision that got you moving? Reconnect with that. Second, shorten your focus. Don't think about the next 5 years. Just think about the next 5 days. What can you do this week to move the ball forward? Next, surround yourself with people who don't let you quit on yourself. Find voices that remind you of your potential. Sometimes you need someone else to believe in you long enough for you to catch up. And finally, celebrate endurance. Not just results. Celebrate the fact that you're still standing, still trying, still learning. Because in a world full of sprinters, those who master the marathon will always win. Here's a little exercise you can do. Look at an area of your life where you've been tempted to give up. Maybe it's your health, your business, your relationships, your finances. Now ask yourself this question. What would happen if I stayed consistent in this area for the next 12 months? Not perfect, just consistent. Think about that. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. You don't need to win today, you just need to stay in the game. Let others burn out chasing shortcuts. You take the long road, the steady road, the one with fewer crowds and stronger roots. There's something admirable about the person who refuses to quit. The one who doesn't look for the exit every time things get hard. The one who keeps showing up, doing the work, even when applause is nowhere to be found. That's the person who builds something real. So here's your reminder. If it matters to you, don't quit. Stay longer than the frustration. Stay longer than the setback. Stay longer than the fear. Because if you keep planting, if you keep watering, if you keep showing up, harvest day will come. Stay in the game, longer than most. That's where your breakthrough lies. Number 8, turn setbacks into stepping stones. Setbacks are part of the journey. Let's just get that straight. If you're on a path to growth, to bettering yourself, to reaching a higher level, you're going to run into some walls. You'll make mistakes. You'll fall short. Sometimes you'll do everything right and still feel like you're moving backward. That's life. But here's the difference between those who keep rising and those who stay stuck. It's what they do with the setback. Most people treat a setback like a dead end. They say, well, that's it. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And they stop. But the people who win, the people who keep going, they see the setback as something else. A stepping stone, a lesson, a redirection, a challenge that asks, how badly do you want this? Let me tell you about someone I knew, Rachel. Now, Rachel was a sharp young woman working in human resources. She had a steady job, not flashy, but stable. And she was working her way up the ladder. Then one day, out of the blue, she was let go. Company downsizing. No warning, no backup plan, just a box of her things and a goodbye. Now that could have been the end of her story. That could have been the moment she gave in to bitterness or fear. But Rachel made a different choice. She gave herself a day to grieve, and then she got to work. Not by applying to the same kind of job she just lost, but by asking herself a powerful question: what do I really want to do? You see, the layoff wasn't just a setback, it was an opportunity in disguise. She started taking online courses. She retooled her resume, reconnected with people she hadn't spoken to in years. And after a few months, she landed a role that didn't just pay more. It aligned with her values, her talents, and her long-term goals. Looking back, she'll tell you that losing her job was the best thing that ever happened to her. Why? Because she used the fall to rise higher than before. That's what setbacks can do, if you let them. They can wake you up, they can show you what wasn't working. They can force you to think differently, to act bolder, to grow faster. But only if you face them the right way. Only if you ask better questions. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of, what did I lose? Ask, what do I still have that I can build with? That change in mindset doesn't remove the pain, but it puts you back in control. And that's where progress begins. When you stop waiting for things to go back to how they were and start working with what is. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying the road will be easy. I'm not saying every setback will come with a gift-wrapped lesson. Some of them will hurt, some will shake you. But even in those moments, there's power in choosing your response. You don't get to pick every storm, but you do get to pick whether you stand up in it or let it knock you down. And let me remind you of something important. Setbacks happen to everyone. The difference is in the response. Some people use the stumble as a reason to stop. Others use it as a reason to start again. Smarter, stronger, more determined. Think about the last time you faced a setback. Did it define you or did it refine you? Did it shrink you or shape you? That reflection is everything. Because the same situation that causes one person to quit can cause another to rise. And that rise is available to you if you choose to see the setback as a stepping stone, not a sentence. So what's your next step? Maybe it's reevaluating your goal. Maybe it's adjusting your plan. Maybe it's simply forgiving yourself and trying again. Whatever it is, take it. Don't let the setback have the final word. Use it, stand on it, grow from it. Remember, the path to progress isn't a straight line. It's a climb full of turns, drops, and sudden changes. But every step, even the backward ones, can serve a purpose. The fall doesn't define you. What you do after it does. So the next time life knocks you off course, don't curse the moment. Don't retreat into excuses. Step back, breathe, learn, and then move forward with more clarity than before. Because the people who make it are not the ones who never fell, they're the ones who refuse to stay down. Turn your setbacks into stepping stones. That's how you build strength. That's how you build wisdom. That's how you build a life that rises higher than your circumstances. Number 9, lay bricks, don't chase castles. Everyone wants the castle, that dream life, the big success, the freedom, the respect, the fulfillment. We look at those who've built something incredible and we say, I want that. But what most people don't realize is that the castle is not built in a day. It's built one brick at a time, quietly, steadily, patiently. If you want the castle, you've got to learn to fall in love with laying bricks. We live in a world obsessed with quick results, instant fame, overnight success. Everyone's searching for the shortcut, the hack, the magic bullet. But real success doesn't work that way. You don't stumble into a strong foundation. You build it, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And the quality of your future depends entirely on the quality of those daily bricks. Let me tell you about someone who understood this deeply, Steve Harvey. Now you know him as the face on television, the comedian, the host, the best-selling author. But what many people forget is that before all of that, he was homeless, living out of his car, taking small gigs at comedy clubs with barely enough money to eat. He didn't wake up one day and step onto a major stage. He laid bricks. He told jokes to half-empty rooms. He kept showing up. He worked when there was no crowd, no paycheck, and no promise. That's the part most people don't want to hear. They want the castle without the labor. They want the reward without the repetition. But life doesn't pay out until you've put in the work. Not flashy work, faithful work, showing up when it's boring, practicing when it's quiet, laying one good brick today, even when the castle feels miles away. You want to know what building your life looks like. It looks like waking up and doing the thing you said you would. It looks like finishing the chapter when you'd rather be watching TV. It looks like making the call, showing up to the meeting, sticking to your budget, and going to the gym on the days when no one is watching and no one is cheering. And here's the key. You don't lay bricks to impress anyone. You lay them to build something that lasts, something that won't fall the moment a storm hits. That kind of life doesn't come from chasing big, dramatic breakthroughs. It comes from consistency, from laying one brick well, then another, then another. Now, it's easy to get discouraged when you're in the middle of the build, because progress can feel slow. The castle isn't visible yet. You're stacking bricks, but all you see is dirt, dust, and hard work. That's where most people give up. They say, this isn't working, I can't see results. But listen carefully. If you can't be faithful in laying bricks, you'll never be trusted with the castle. Faithfulness comes first. Results come later. So what does this look like in real life? If you want financial freedom, your brick might be saving a little today, even if it's just $5. If you want better health, your brick might be choosing a better meal or taking a walk. If you want to improve your skills, your brick might be reading 10 pages, taking a short course, or practicing your craft. The goal is not to build the whole thing today. The goal is to lay today's brick with care, with excellence, and with consistency. That's where confidence comes from. Not from imagining the castle, but from knowing you did your part to build it today. And let's be honest, some days you won't feel like it. Some days you'll question whether your effort matters. That's when you remind yourself. No one builds anything meaningful in a day, but with enough focused days stacked together, you can build something others only dream about. So here's the challenge. What's your brick today? Don't wait until you're inspired. Don't wait until conditions are perfect. Pick up the brick, place it well, then come back tomorrow and place another, because the castle is coming. It may not look like much now, but if you keep building, if you stay consistent, one day you'll look back and realize you built something remarkable. Not because you chased the dream, but because you built it the only way anything great is ever built, brick by brick. Number 10, celebrate the climb as you climb. Most people wait until they've reached the top to celebrate. They wait until the goal is complete, the bank account is full, the body is transformed, or the dream becomes reality. Then and only then, they give themselves permission to feel proud. But let me ask you, what kind of journey is that? If you only feel good at the finish line, you'll miss the joy of every step along the way. Success, real success, is not just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps climbing, who keeps growing, who keeps showing up, even when the applause is silent. And that kind of person doesn't wait to celebrate. They find meaning in the process. They take pride in the effort, not just the outcome. You've got to learn to enjoy the climb, because the climb is where the growth happens. That's where your mindset gets sharper, your discipline stronger, your confidence deeper. If you only value the result, you'll burn out before you get there. But if you learn to celebrate the small steps, the ones no one sees, you'll have the energy to keep going. Let me introduce you to someone who understood this principle well. Tyler. Tyler was a high school coach in a small town. No national spotlight, no major championships. But every year, he treated his team's progress like it mattered. He celebrated small improvements, a faster lap time, a better practice session, a moment of teamwork. He didn't wait for trophies to recognize growth. He built a culture around progress. And you know what happened? His team didn't just win games. They grew into better young men, disciplined, driven, confident. They walked taller because someone had taught them to celebrate the climb. You can do the same in your life. Maybe you're not where you want to be yet. Maybe the vision is still far off. That's okay. Look at where you started. Look at the steps you've taken. Did you wake up early today when you didn't feel like it? Celebrate that. Did you follow through on your plan even when it wasn't easy? That's a win. Did you make a better choice than you did last week? That's progress. And progress is worth celebrating. Don't mistake celebration for self-satisfaction. You're not resting on your success, you're reinforcing it. You're reminding yourself that the process is working, that the effort matters, that you're moving forward even if the mountain still looks tall. Here's what I want you to do. Make celebration a habit. At the end of each day, take just 5 minutes and ask yourself, what did I do today that I can be proud of? It might be small, it might be invisible to others, but if it moved you forward, it counts. Recognize it, honor it, and let that recognition fuel your next step. Because when you celebrate progress, you create momentum, and momentum is what carries you. When motivation fades, most people quit, not because the dream wasn't worth it, but because the journey felt thankless. Don't let that be you. Give yourself credit for staying in the game. Give yourself credit for every brick you've laid, every obstacle you've pushed through, every day you showed up. Let me say something else. Celebration isn't always about you. When you celebrate your own journey, you inspire others. You give them permission to keep going too. You become proof that it's possible to grow one step at a time. And that's powerful. The climb is hard sometimes. There will be days when progress is slow, when the top feels out of reach. But that's all the more reason to pause. Look back and realize how far you've come, because you have come far and you're still climbing. So don't wait until the end. Celebrate now. Celebrate the decision to begin. Celebrate the days you didn't quit. Celebrate the grit it takes to keep improving 1% at a time. Because this journey, as imperfect and winding as it may be, is shaping you into someone you can be proud of. You don't have to be finished to be proud. You just have to be progressing. And if you're still climbing, still reaching, still learning, still growing, then you're already on the right path. So take a deep breath, look at the path behind you and say, well done. Then take another step and another. Because the climb itself is worth celebrating. And when you learn to enjoy it, you'll find that the destination becomes even sweeter. Improving yourself 1% every day might sound simple, and that's because it is. But don't mistake simple for insignificant, that 1%. Done with purpose, repeated with discipline, backed by belief, becomes the most powerful force in your life. You won't always notice it right away. The change might feel slow. But over time, the results are undeniable. Small, steady steps create massive transformation. You see, most people wait for the big leap.